to Reading the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. And on this episode, we'll be exploring number 61 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
All right, number 61 is Breakfast at Tiffany's. Directed by Blake Edwards, released in 1961, starring Audrey Hepburn and George Peppard.
So, the synopsis for this romantic comedy is as follows. Emotionally vacant ne'er-do-well Holly Golightly, played by Audrey Hepburn, lives alone in a posh New York City apartment. She is awakened when her door is buzzed by her new neighbor, Paul Varjak, played by George Peppard. They chat while she gets ready for her visit to see mobster Sally Tomato at Sing Sing, which his lawyers pay her $100 weekly for to deliver the weather report. On her way out, she is introduced to Paul's decorator, a well-dressed, wealthy older woman. That night, when Holly goes out on her balcony to avoid an over-eager date, she peeks into Paul's apartment. She sees the decorator leaving him money on her way out the door. She stops in for a visit and learns he's a writer who hasn't been published in 5 years. They nod off and are awakened when Holly has a nightmare about her brother. Paul tries to get her to talk about it, but she chastises him for prying. She later apologizes and invites him to a party at her place. Paul meets several people at her party, including her agent, Brazilian politician Jose da Silva Pereira, and Rusty Trawler, the richest man in America under 50. The party is raided by cops, called by upstairs neighbor Mr. Yunioshi, inexplicably played by Mickey Rooney, and Paul escapes out the balcony. Paul's decorator believes she is being followed and asks him to check. He leads the man away, only to learn he's Doc Golightly, Holly's Texas husband. He explains her real name is Lula Mae Barnes, and they married when she was 14. He is there to bring her home. Paul reunites them and learns the marriage was long ago annulled. Doc leaves brokenhearted when she won't come home. While having drinks, Holly lets Paul know her plan to marry Rusty Trawler. A few days later, after learning one of his stories has been published, Paul also learns Trawler is marrying someone else. Holly and Paul spend the day together, taking turns doing things neither has done before. They end up spending the night together. When his decorator arrives, he ends the relationship and moves out. Holly now schemes to marry Da Silva Pereira for his money. After receiving notice of her brother's death from the army, she trashes her apartment. Da Silva Pereira enlists Paul's help. Paul explains what's happened and leaves, knowing she is going to be with Da Silva Pereira and not with him. Months later, she asks Paul to dinner and to say goodbye as she is leaving for Brazil. However, the pair end up arrested in connection with Sammy Tomato's drug ring. Holly spends the night in jail. She finds out Da Silva Pereira is no longer marrying her, but insists she is going to Brazil regardless. She releases her pet cat into the rain. Paul storms away, telling her she needs to examine her life. She chases after him, and they find Cat, then embrace.
So, I just want to say, I really think America as a whole needs to really revisit our classic film collection, because I think that in today's eyes, some of these are not good at all.
And it's not just that. Even at the time, this shouldn't have been, except Mickey Rooney playing a stereotypical bucktooth Japanese guy. Who the hell thought that was a good idea? That wasn't a good idea in 1960. It sure as hell isn't a good idea in 2022. It's really, really bad, and it's a stain on Mickey Rooney's legacy as an actor, because he's a really, really good actor. But he's got this kind of stain in his filmography that he did this. You couldn't have found at that time you couldn't have found a Japanese guy to play it.
Which is crazy, because they had Japanese women in the movie as party goers in her house,
And he's not he doesn't have this huge role in the movie. He maybe has 5 minutes of screen time. He's just kind of there for a couple of spots of comedic break in between things that are happening.
I mean, they could have really just had Mickey Rooney doing funny shit, because he did funny shit.
They could, yeah. It didn't have to be an Asian guy. It could have been anyone. That there's nothing about the role that implicitly says that this has to be a Japanese guy. Maybe it's that way in the book. This is based on a Truman Capote novel, which I've never read. I'm not a huge fan of his writing, but I don't get it. The other thing that this movie does, and we talked about this while we were watching it, one of my biggest pet peeves in Hollywood is to have a really shitty character. Like, let's not beat around the bush. Holly Golightly is a shitty person. She is a terrible character. But what Hollywood does is they get someone who is universally loved in Audrey Hepburn. Like, women love her. She's like the epitome of class. She wears all these great clothes. She's gorgeous. She's just, and men find her beautiful. So everyone wants to see Audrey Hepburn on screen. And then you put her in this role where she's playing this shitty person, and people kind of let it go because they enjoy this. They
see it as like, oh, how cute.
Oh, how cute. She's terrible. She's
awful.
Awful. She's an awful person.
She's literally using men, withholding sex, using men to pay her way through life. That's what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she is, leaves her whole family to do this. And
changes her identity.
Becomes somebody else. Doesn't really listen to other people, like, tell their stories. No. Like, she's not interested. She's really just interested in how they're going to, bring her life up.
Right. Everything is about her. Like, even, like, the George Papard character, like, as soon as, she uses him as this is the guy that I actually care about. Mm-hmm. And can I have my cake and eat it too? Can I be married to one of these rich guys but still have some kind of relationship with Paul, who, has had to do a few things probably he's obviously not proud of. I mean, he's sleeping with, the decorator who's actually
paying him for sex.
Who actually is the person who owns the apartment that he's living in. So he's kind of a kept man, basically. And, obviously he's doing things to get by, but I don't equate him to her in that way. As he knows what he's doing, he knows why he's doing it, and he would much rather not be doing it than doing it. Like, if he could figure out a way around it, he would not be doing it. Which is why he's really, he's really still continuing, even though he's not a successful writer. He's trying to do his best and get something published so he can take care of himself and not have to worry about it. And once he realizes that, after he and Holly spend the night together, and he's, he's kind of in his own head, he's like, oh, we're together now. Mm-hmm. Like, we had this wonderful day together, and it's clear that this is what we are. He immediately tells, the woman who they call, E2, apartment 2, that, he can't see her anymore. Mm-hmm. He makes a stand right then and there. So he has a moral fiber that Holly just simply doesn't have. Like, even up to the point where, the guy in Brazil is not going to marry her. She's like, well, I'm just going to go to Brazil anyway. Like, she's just going to show up on his doorstep.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll see me and still want to marry me. It's like...
Well, and I think that ending scene really... I think what you're supposed to feel in that ending scene is...
That she's grown.
Like she's supposed to be this new person, and that, she's realizing that going to Brazil isn't a good idea. And it's like, if that doesn't hit, what does hit is the bitch throws her cat outside in the rain, the pouring rain, and this poor cat is on its own. It's awful. That is what I am worried about in the last part of that movie, is the cat.
Yep.
I could care fucking less what happens to her and where she goes. If she goes to Brazil, if she goes with him, whatever. What I'm concerned about is the cat.
And not only that, so they, using that, thing I was telling you earlier, is because they've got Audrey Hepburn playing this role. They think that they have earned that last scene.
Yeah.
Just to say, oh, she's changed and now she is a different person.
No.
We haven't seen it at all in this movie. We haven't seen any personal growth from her whatsoever.
Nope.
And there's no, you don't, like, if you're gonna do that in any kind of story, you have to earn it. You have to show incremental steps along the way. You have to see them, forced into some kind of dilemma that makes them go, they get into a fork in the road and they got to go one way or the other. They got to stay on the road that they've been and keep living the way that they have, or they decide, no, that life that I've been living is not the right one. What I need to do is this. That's personal growth. She does not do that in this movie whatsoever, and they expect you to buy it in that last scene, and I'm not having it.
Yeah, because, I mean, even, like, if you think about, with most romantic comedies, at the end, you're like, okay, so what's their future like? They're going to stay together, and this is going to happen, But how is she going to make a living?
Yeah, what's she going to do? Like,
what is she going to do?
Like, he's a
writer.
He's a writer, and
he was writing some articles for a few magazines,
so,
right?
He's making a living, but he is not going to be able to keep her in the kind of life that she has grown accustomed to. She lives in this. They live, that building that they were living in. He was living there as a kept man. Mm-hmm. She was living there because she's getting $100 a week.
Yes.
Basically helping them. Inadvertently helping the mob. Pass secrets to keep their drug ring going. She doesn't even realize that that's what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing.
Maybe, but at the same time, she's not. They're not going to be able to live in that apartment.
Nope.
It's super posh. And is she going to be happy?
No, she's going to go and start doing what she's doing again. I 100% believe that. Yep. Do I think that their relationship's lasting? No, I do not at all. He's going to get irritated, he's going to get fed up, and he's going to leave. Because she hasn't changed.
Yeah, and that's probably what's going to end up happening. Positives of this movie, it looks great. There's just, the visuals in this movie are absolutely stunning.
She's stunning.
Her wardrobe is so fantastic. I mean,
she looks beautiful in everything she's wearing. Yeah. Everything. And the classic scene where she's at Tiffany's outside the window with the movie with her croissant or whatever she's eating.
The movie starts where she's dressed in this wonderful outfit, and it's early morning, and she's got her bag of breakfast, whatever happens to be in there, and that's where the title of the movie comes from. Just the stuff at the party. There's a lot of really funny visuals at the party. Mm-hmm. There's stuff to enjoy in this movie. It's just you can't get past the other stuff. It's just I don't buy their love story. This the yellow face stuff is really, really bad.
It's just so jarring. You can't look past it. It's just awful.
It amazes me that anyone thought that was okay at the time, but
yeah. Okay.
All right, I gave this one a 48. I found a few redeeming qualities in it. Jerry gave it a 26. She found fewer redeeming qualities than I did. The list score is therefore 37. So this one is definitely not going to make our top 100. And when we rearrange this particular list, it's going to be way lower than 61. I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Don't have a lot more to say about this. Can't recommend it for lots of reasons.
Don't watch it. Just don't.
Maybe if the story sounds interesting to you, maybe go to the source material and read the book by Truman
I have no
Capote.
idea what that book's like
I have
at
no
all.
idea what the book's like, if it's any good, if it's, if it's aged any better than the film that it's based, that got based on it is. I don't know, but...
Well, if you would like to tell us a little bit about the book, if you read it, kind of compare it maybe to the movie. If you have other thoughts on the movie and like to share them with us, please comment. Please like and subscribe our channel. If you'd like to message us privately, please email us at readingthelists@gmail.com. So I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.